Welcome back, everyone, to Open Line. Talking about a new documentary that's out that is focused on North Nashville, 37208. It's called Out North, and it's basically about how 37208 is fighting back, tackling gentrification, incarceration rates. Prominently featured in that film is Rasheedat Fetuga. She is the CEO and founder of Gideon's Army, and she's joining us via Zoom right there. Let's take some calls. Let's go to Reverend Fuzz. Hello, Reverend Fuzz.
Hey, Ben, you sound better. Good evening. Hi, Rasheedat.
Hi, Pastor Fuzz.
You know, I've followed you, I think, almost from the beginning, and I just got to give you kudos and compliments and say that I'm sad that there are not 100 more organizations like yours that's out there fighting. Two quick things. Number one, you always hear about 37208 having this highest incarceration rate, but we don't hear about it having the highest victim rate. We don't hear about those victims out there whose houses are broken into, cars are robbed, and unfortunately the lives are lost through killings. And I want to see what kind of focus goes there. And I'm hearing that 37208 is on the map. You see, it's already being gentrified. It's terrible. So I want to ask you, Rasheedat, do you think about running for office? You know that's the way to, that's who makes the decisions, the elected officials. Do you think about running for office? Or does Gideon's Army think about getting people to run for office who can really bring about and stand in the gap? Because I see that's where the change is made. You talked about city council. That's where it goes down. And I wonder, do you think about running for office? If you're really smart, and you talk about people are renters over there, we've got to figure out a way to help these women and men who are paying $1,500 a month for rent. How can we get with the mayor, this housing fund, and enable these people who are paying $1,500 of rent to build their credit so that they're paying $900 for a mortgage in 37208? So you do own the property, because if you don't own it, what can you say about what goes on? I hope that's not a rambling, being that you can get a few answers out of that.
Reverend Fuzz, thank you. Always ready to hear from you. Thank you, Reverend Fuzz. There's a lot there. So I'll start with one that interested me. Have you thought about running for office? So he's saying that's where the decisions are made. It's hard to deny that's where decisions are made. Why not run for office or recruiting people?
I am not sitting in those meetings. It's as simple as that. No. That's just not my thing. The council meetings go forever. I don't have the stamina for that, to be honest. And I also really believe that my home is outside. My home is in the streets. And I'm going to have to just depend on good people, who hold office to do what they need to, or depend on the people in the streets and in the communities to hold folks accountable. And there are organizations that work with people to help them, to train them to be on commission boards or to hold office. And we partner with those organizations. Gideon's Army, we're not trying to do all and be all. And there are really great people and organizations that are already out there doing that work.
I mean, just a group like Gideon's Army, is that proof that maybe the power structure, it might be shifting a little bit? That maybe you can do a lot of good there in a grassroots sort of situation, and you don't have to run for office? And I don't know if that's true. There might be plenty of people who say you need to be there in the meetings and that kind of thing. But do you think things are shifting with this grassroots type organization?
I definitely believe so. I know so. And Gideon's Army is a restorative justice organization, and so we focus on transformation in relationships, transformation between relationships between the government and the people, so that the people are taking more ownership in being civically engaged, and that there's not such an imbalance of power that there is before Gideon's Army starts. You know, that's definitely one of the principles of restorative justice, is a transformation in relationship between the people and the government. And that's something we take very seriously. So yes, definitely so. I mean, it's taken us a long time, but it's definitely happening. But no, I will not run for office.
He asked a couple other things. We hear about the highest incarceration rate. He said there's also a high victim rate, has the highest victim rate. What about what he's saying there? What's being done for the victims? You know, what about that side of it? And renters and the high amount they're paying in rent. How can we get them so that they can afford a mortgage? But I guess first start with the victim rate.
Victim rate. Okay, so I don't know where that research has come from about the highest victim rates. I don't know if he was saying in the country or anything like that, or if he was just saying with the highest incarceration rate, we don't talk about the people who are harmed. But Gideon's Army centers the people who are harmed. That's why we have trauma services. And again, Gideon's Army is a restorative organization, and restorative justice focuses on understanding who's harmed. How have you been harmed? How can we all come together to address the harm and make things right? How can the people who've caused the harm, how can they be accountable for rebuilding trust in the community, for helping this person to facilitate a process of healing? Like, restorative justice is definitely centered around harm and around uplifting people who are harmed, in addition to helping to restore the person who's caused harm. So we definitely focus deeply on people who've been harmed. For, you know, and maybe Reverend Fuzz wasn't on the line when we talked about just the trauma services and working with families who've been impacted by gun violence, and making sure the children reintegrate back into schools once they've lost a parent or a loved one to violence, paying for funerals, speaking at funerals, planning funerals, writing the obituaries, you know, just whatever needs to be done to help that family to heal. Gideon's Army is there. So restorative justice isn't just a set of practices, it's a way of life, it's an ethos, it's a philosophy. And so whatever we can create and build around a concept of healing and restoration, that is what Gideon's Army does. And
what about renters? The whole concern about, you know, renters, high rents, and is there reform you'd like to see? If so, what is it?
We definitely need more affordable housing in the city. You know, most people can't afford to live here anymore. It just keeps getting higher and higher, especially with these McMansions, as the children call them, that are being built within North Nashville. We have started a housing program. Gideon's Army has a transitional house. There's 6 people who are housed there now. We've helped several people to get into long-term housing. I want to say like 39 people who we had housed in hotels, helped them to get into long-term housing, whereas they were not in, maybe they were like in a transitional house, or they were living with relatives and the home was damaged, but helping them to get into housing. We've partnered with HMIS, the Housing Fund, several different organizations to begin to really focus on helping people to secure housing.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back, take more calls. We're also going to play a clip. We're about 37 minutes in. We haven't played a clip yet. So we'll play a clip when we come back. We'll be back right after this.